If you have not watched season 2 of the Fallout TV show, I'm going to spoil it because what we're talking about here today are interviews with Todd Howard and some of the showrunners as well for Fallout. And we're going to talk about the season finale, the fate of certain characters, and what exactly that means. I've been holding off on this story until the end of the stream so that if those of you who need to peace out because you're like, hey, I do want to watch that, or hey, I haven't seen it yet, or I'm busy, or I'm waiting, whatever it may be, that's all good. I just want to make sure you guys had your out so that you could peace out and go do your thing. So Fallout Season 2 airs, and it's a lot of plot threads. There's a lot that Bethesda and Kilter and Prime got to do to tighten this thing up. As I talked about in my review, I really did enjoy Season 2. I loved Season 1 way more, but Season 2 has its problems, and too many plot threads is one of them. One of the big plot threads that's introduced in the finale of Season 2, really at the end of Episode 7, but explored a little bit in Season 2, is Mr. House. So, as you know, in the end of Fallout New Vegas, one of the endings you can pick is you can kill Mr. House. You can open up that tube and you can smack his ass with a 9-iron and he's dead. You know, the second he's exposed, technically he's dead as well. So given the fact that, hey, this character can die, you can't really show him in the TV show because Bethesda is already committed to the idea of we will not be picking a canon ending. So how can Mr. House exist in this TV show in this point in the timeline after the strip is destroyed if he's already dead based on some of our choices here? Like, where did the other one go? That sort of thing here. Well, Todd Howard had commented on this here. We've got this interview here from Games Radar who says, what existed before and how do you remain respectful to it? So this was the challenge with Season 2 for the team at Bethesda. And they were talking about like what New Vegas endings actually can. They say, we talk about it a lot. Even when we do games, we talk about, hey, what existed before and how do you remain respectful of it? I think what we try to do is tell a story from the perspective of the people in the world, and sometimes you're going to get conflicting accounts. I already have some mixed feelings on that response there because it's something that Elder Scrolls does where like you'll hear different things from different people. Some people love that. I don't think there is like one definitive way of thinking in a universe, but you can't have like someone as important as Mr. House is like, hey, did you hear he died? No, he actually didn't. He got his AI consciousness got uploaded thanks to cold fusion or some shit like that. Like that's where I gotta get my back up a little bit here, right? Now, continuing on this article here, they talk a little bit more about like what happened in the season itself here. And then we end with an interesting little quote. They say, because the TV show is canon to the video game franchise, this alters things considerably, but Robertson Dware says she doesn't see it that way and that they simply aim to open the question of whether they did and also introduce the Enclave as one of the most powerful entities in this universe. And oftentimes it's intentional that things are up for interpretation and we have our own view of things that, you know, this series is going to go on for a while yet, Howard adds. But I think it's a good thing to open up those conversations and you may get history. You may get conflicting reports on how some things went. So it seems like they're teasing a little bit of like, hey, hang with us. We'll answer those questions. But to me, it also reads as a fan, like we opened up this plot thread that one of the main characters behind New Vegas, like the most popular character in that entry, one of the most popular characters in all of Fallout that could die, where you said you weren't going to pick a canon ending, is now back, and you're kind of like, we like to open things up. There might be conflicting reports and accounts, and it's like, okay, well, is it like we as fans only knew one Mr. House? Now we know there were two. Did the one that we killed at the end of New Vegas, was that the fake Robert House, and this is the real one? Was that his backup plan? Like, is he an evolution of Howard Hughes where there's a third house, really? Now, we get into this a little bit more here because this interview is also interesting. Fallout Season 2 will, again, avoid outright confirming which New Vegas ending is canon because we didn't want to contradict anyone's experience playing the games. So the discussions Bethesda's Todd Howard, executive producer Jonathan Nolan, and co-showrunner Graham Wagner and the whole creative team had was that we wanted to avoid making any one particular ending correct in any form from any of the games. So when I read something like that and then you're bringing House back, it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. And this is the problem they had is like, I wish they did pick a canon ending. That's my hot take on this whole series is that I think if you're going to go to New Vegas, it's just all these different factions and they could have done all these interesting things with it, building off of a particularly canon ending. Maybe I got to see the story to its finale, but it just seems like if you're going to go to New Vegas, you can't really elude that. And I think it shows in Season 2, but maybe in Season 3, they tie some loose ends up and it all starts to make sense here. Now, despite all of this, again, we're sticking with Games Radar here. We have an article titled, "Despite seemingly confirming one of New Vegas' ending is canon, Fallout showrunner says no, actually, that Mr. House twist still allows many players' experiences to have happened here." So again, this is the quote. "It did seem to us like a version of him powered by cold fusion would be sort of the ultimate possible incarnation of Robert House," Robert Sindore tells EW, explaining the evolution of House, a character that is taken directly from the game. "And as someone who is interested in robotics and artificial non-biological versions of selves, it made a lot of sense to us that this would have been something that he would have developed and sort of be the ultimate version of him," she continues. "I've always seen it as something that allows for many players' experiences to continue to have happened, but still Robert House had this other version of himself that he was always ready to create, and what he needed was the diode." So what they're basically saying here is what we saw at the end of season 2 was like his failsafe. Right? Which, again, man, like, I don't know, dude. Like, okay. So all of the freaking out about the platinum chip, right? Like, we need the platinum chip. I need to see that done here. If this man just had the ace up his sleeve, I have to ask myself why, as a player, any of that matter. I just platinumed the game, and I'm thinking to myself, like, all these moments, all these conversations, the urgency, the plan, the defense of the strip, right? Like, these are all pressing matters. But, like, Robert's fragility as a character is one of those reasons. Like, he's protecting himself, too. But if he knows he's got this backup and he needs cold fusion, is it just like the idea of, like, well, cold fusion wasn't there until the ghoul showed up? It's really hard for me to buy into because, again, I still have a choice that you're telling me can still happen where I killed one of the Robert Houses. So, again, they address this in the show. They say he was bludgeoned, he was poisoned. You know, they're referencing what the courier did. Like, that also kind of says right there, like, if you touch Robert House in that state, that man is dead. So that confirms at least that choice during that point in the storyline. Like, it's not the ending per se, but that means, like, NCR or, like, Legion, like, you killed him in one of the non-house routes, right? So I think despite what Todd and co are saying about changing the lore in New Vegas or building upon it, I think it's going to be a really interesting needle they've got to just like thread perfectly. And maybe they do, but I just, again, think about how it conflicts with, now it does really conflict with the New Vegas experience. Like, because I look at it this way, nothing was in the back of my head when I was playing New Vegas. Now there's a little something in the back of my head. And I think that's where we kind of leave it for now. Now, there were also some other interesting quotes here because for those who don't know, and I guess if you're watching this, again, spoilers, season 3 for the Fallout TV show is going to take us to Colorado, which I thought was pretty exciting here. Now, Den of Geek has a pretty big deep dive here on what's happening and kind of teasing new factions, new locations. I thought this was really exciting here, kind of looking ahead, because if you ask me what the biggest mistake this show made with season 2, it kind of was going to the strip, because I have so much more optimism for when this show is making its own things, because this show is the show that made the Ghoul. One of the, like, literally in one season, they gave the Fallout franchise a face that is as prominent as the Vault Boy. They made Stephanie Harper. What an amazing character so far. So they have all of these great characters that they've made. So I think they can be trusted on their own to just create. So when they're going to Colorado, I'm like, oh, great. They can just do their own thing here. There's no, like, did someone 15 years ago do something here? It's just their own little playground. Kind of, right? Because there's a little semi-canon game that's hanging around there here. So they write here, while the state of Colorado exists in the Fallout games pre-war canon, where it's grounded alongside 3 other states as one of the 13 Commonwealth regions that makes up the U.S., which explains all of the American flags having 13 stars rather than the traditional 50, little is known about the post-apocalyptic wasteland era. According to Bethesda Game Studios director and TV show producer Todd Howard, that relative blank state is what made the location a lot more appealing. He says, we've always wanted to do that, where each season we want to go to new places. Just like the games, geography is such a fun part of the Fallout world, Howard tells Den of Geek. Obviously, there's going to be a journey to Colorado, but that journey might take us to some other places as well. So they do start to kind of have a little fun with something that's said in season 1 here. It's actually mentioned right here. They say, in acknowledging the potential for season 3's Colorado trip to some detours, Howard is invoking the Wasteland's golden rule: thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time. The roughly 750 miles that separate Las Vegas, Nevada from Denver, Colorado provide enough opportunity for the ghoul to be distracted here. You say, you just don't know, and I genuinely mean that, Walton Goggins tells Den of Geek about Fallout 3's Season 3 location. A lot of things can happen right after the camera cuts, but we'll see. If he goes to Colorado, I'll be jumping for joy. If he doesn't go to Colorado, I'll be jumping for joy. I can promise you this, the story that will be thought through and that what happens will happen the way it was supposed to happen for us. So Walton's got all the confidence in the world here. What's interesting, though, is what Howard teases right here. Quote, I think it's really good to go to new places, even where the games haven't been. Develop that and explore. Who are the people there? What are some new factions? What are they doing to survive? It's the same approach we have with the games. It's this right here that I look at and go, yes. And what's interesting is this little note. Colorado was originally intended to be a major setting of Black Isle Studios' never completed version of Fallout 3. Under Bethesda's stewardship, they know Fallout 3 ended up going to, of course, Capital Wasteland. They say, according to dialogue in New Vegas, however, Denver became home to large packs of wild dogs sometimes after the bombs had dropped. If that means the ghouls, Belgian Malinois buddy, meets some new puppers in Season 3, then the setting will be just fine with us. I like that. Really well written. So that's a great interview there. So we have new factions that could show up. That's the stuff that excites me, like the new ways of life in a Fallout land. And I love that this also confirms that every season is going to take us somewhere new. We kind of felt that would be the case when Season 1 ended with the New Vegas teaser. And now Season 2 ends with the Colorado teaser. So now, if based on what Aaron Moten said, with like this being 5 or 6 seasons, there's still a bunch of locations that they can take us every season. So that keeps the kind of ideas open and flowing. And that makes me wonder where this is all going to conclude, right? Where is it all going to finalize? What's it all going to come down to? But I thought these were, in contrast to some quotes I'm a little bit unsure about, these were genuinely exciting. Like, I love that they're going somewhere and they're going to kind of make it their own. And especially because one of the best things Season 2 did, in my opinion, was Episode 1, where you took the cut content from Fallout New Vegas, which was Vault 24, and you made it to your own vault, and it fit perfectly in the story. And it was just right. It was just right. They did such a great job with the mind control vault and communism being the theme of it. It was perfect. So more of that would be great. And again, when they've made great original characters and now they're going to their own kind of setting that they can mold the way they wanted to, I love that. I think they're going to do a really great job with that. And otherwise, that's really what's happening with Season 3 so far. And they also talk a little bit about Liberty Prime, which I thought was obviously one of the biggest reveals here. There was an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, and they talk about how it was always a matter of how and when here. And so let me Control F, because I read this through, and there we go. It was at the bottom here. Giant Robots, said a giddy Todd Howard, the Bethesda Game Studios veteran who led the Fallout games over the years, reacting to the Liberty Prime reveal. Quote, it was a matter of how and when, not if. We're so excited the show is going to tackle that one. So yeah, I love where their head's at on that as well. I think bringing back Liberty Prime is like, of course, you've got to show the masses Liberty Prime and like why everyone thought that was awesome too. I mean, that's what Fallout 3 brought to the table. It was amazing. Fallout 4 had it. So yeah, having the TV show have it, it is kind of running back a familiar element, but I'm glad they're doing it. It makes a lot of sense there. So that's going to be really exciting as well. Overall, I think if Fallout Season 3 can converge a lot of these plot points, I think it could be like peak, because that's the main problem Season 2 had. It just needed more time to breathe. More episodes would have gone a long way. But if Amazon's going to do its thing, it's going to keep the same episode count, then converging these storylines will be great. And obviously exploring a new setting where we're not constantly checking our notebook and going, what did Mr. House say? Like we're not doing any of that there. Well, actually, I lied. There's still the strip. We're still going to be doing that in Season 3, but maybe a little bit less so. Maybe there's something new to balance it out with. I think that's a little bit exciting. So despite Todd's comments on the lore to me being a little bit conflicting, like I'm a little like, oh, are you guys sure? Like when you say something like this, where you're like, what remained before and how do you respect it? And you're like, there will be conflicting reports. I mean, yeah, there will be, but like with like one of the most famous guys in the pre-war and the Wasteland, especially Vegas, conflicting reports. I mean, I guess maybe lying to the viewer is not like a bad thing. But in this case, I'm sure they have a vision, but I'm really eager to see it through. It's going to keep me up at night. What the hell they're doing with Mr. House. That's the main element I'm not going to forget about. I'm like, what are you guys doing with him? You know, you're kicking a hornet's nest here. Why would you do this? Why? So we'll see.